Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing What If Deku Was the Ghost Rider? Oh, and by the way guys, disclaimer, I will be taking another channel's sort of storyline to inspire this. It's not a What If Deku Was Ghost Rider. You guys, I don't know if you guys have seen We the Celestials, the What If channel that doesn't do what ifs anymore. They used to have a series called What If Deku Had the 6 Paths Chakra mode or something like that. It's basically what if Deku had chakra and like Naruto's powers, but he also had one for all. Well, I was invested in this story so much, and by the end of it, it obviously, for those who know, had a really sad ending, and I hated that ending. So much so that me and a friend of mine made this story up. I hated the original story so much that I basically gave Deku different powers, or a way for him to redeem himself, because he had died at the end of the story, and I was thinking, what's a power that can bring someone back from the dead? And I thought regeneration, stuff like that, or reincarnation, something like that, maybe. But by the end of the story, you guys know how it happened, how he died. Trigger warning guys, he killed himself. He jumped off a building. Deku killed himself. So I was thinking how the story, well, back in the day, I thought how the story could start was, I do not believe Deku would just end it. So it might have been a force that was, or a voice in his head that was slowly going, jump off, your life is worthless, or something like that. And Deku would just heed the warning. He would resist it at first, but eventually, of course, he would just jump off the building and kill himself. The moment Deku would have, well, landed and killed himself, Deku would find himself, of course, in a mindscape or somewhere in between where the souls of the dead go, or maybe even hell. And Deku would be in front of a man with red skin and basically looking like the devil. Oh, poor little Izuku Midoriya. You couldn't hack it as a hero, and you gave up. Right? That voice inside of your head telling you that you were worthless, that was me. Deku looks at him like, I knew it. It couldn't have been me. You did this to me. You made me kill. No, I didn't. You made that choice for yourself. I just pushed in the right direction. But don't be sad or angry with me. I came to give you a gift, of course, with something in return. I have a contract for you. I will give you powers unimaginable to mankind, not for thousands of years. Humanity has forgotten the occult world, and I am just here to say we're not gone, we're in the shadows. And I will offer you, just this once before you die for reals, the power to destroy Tomura Shigaraki, that false god. Izuku was surprised but angry at the same time. He just died, but this guy had the gall to think that he was gonna be a hero once more, especially to defeat Shigaraki. Was he insane? Listen here, you double wannabe. I had spent years trying to defeat that bastard, and I couldn't. Now I lost my powers, my honor, all of it. I am just a quirkless nobody. And you think you can go up against Shigaraki? He is a living god. Mephisto got offended at that. I mean, in his dimension, in his realm, he is all powerful. And he shows him that Mephisto turns the inky blackness of their surrounding into a white surrounding, basically, with the snap of a finger. And then he turns it into a cityscape. Then they go into the stars of space. Then he turns it into a plain of grass with hills rolling everywhere. I am a god, and you offended me. You have 3 minutes to decide, Izuku Midoriya. There is no one more powerful than me. Of course, in my own dimension. That man you call a living god, he is nothing but an ant to me, and I am offering you a fraction of my power to put you on equal grounds with them. Remember all those lives lost? He took them without remorse. You want vengeance, right? You can take it. He snaps his finger and a piece of paper floats in front of Izuku. Izuku, vengeance is so close. You just need to sign that contract. Do it, and you'll have the power to bring him to your knees. Avenge the lives that were lost. Doesn't that sound enticing? And hey, you'll come back to life. You'll get the happy ending you wanted. Just sign the paper. Sign it! Izuku is, well, conflicted. He is in front of a guy that considers himself a god that can manipulate reality around him in his quote-unquote dimension. And also, he threatened him to just let him die in 3 minutes. And he really wanted to get vengeance on Shigaraki. And Izuku said and replied, "Where do I sign?" That line there. I just need a little bit of your blood. You're really going for the demon aesthetic. Well, of course I am. Oh, and by the way, my name is Mephisto. Remember the name of the man who gifted you the means of your vengeance. Izuku grabs a knife that was next to the paper. He slashed his palm open and sprayed his blood over the paper. In that moment, the clouds over the plains started darkening and thunder struck all around them. Wind picked up and, well, Mephisto was pleased. He started laughing and cackling. Yes! The souls of the damned are mine now, and you will be my tool. You should have really read the fine print. You hero types are all the same. Self-centered and eager. The rolling hills started to burn, and fire surrounded Izuku immediately. Izuku was paralyzed with fear. He got seduced by the idea of killing Shigaraki, of delivering justice, but that wasn't him. It was always this monster speaking sweet things into his ear. He made him kill himself after all. It was him. Self-doubt. Or was it him? He didn't know anymore. He just wanted out of here. If he had to go to hell or die for failing All Might, for failing everyone, for failing all of the people who died, he would take that punishment. He didn't want whatever this monster wanted. And so Mephisto at that time reached out his hand and fire engulfed it. And he struck Izuku with that fire. Both of you are now bound. The spirit of vengeance and a lonely man. This shall be interesting. Entertain me, you both. In the real world, we see a headstone that read, "Here lies Izuku, beloved son, and hero. And, well, moments later, an explosion from under the grave came expelling flames, as if like hell was opening, but it was only an explosion. Then, after a couple of minutes, Izuku crawled out of there, out of breath, with no clothes. He was confused, scared, and most of all cold. He started walking out of there, after crawling out of there with like a lot of effort. Remember, he's quirkless. He's not super powered anymore. He doesn't have any fancy chakra abilities anymore, or one for all. He was scared, so scared, and he walked for what could be miles, with no directions. He remembered feeling worthless and hearing in his head his voice saying that he should just end it. And then he went out the window and, oh God, he just crawled out of his own grave. What the hell had happened? What happened? So Izuku continued walking until he came upon a homeless shelter where they gave him clothes and some food. But he didn't want to stay there, so he walked out of it. Izuku wanted to go home, so he headed towards the house that he and his mom lived in. But while walking through a neighborhood heading towards his house, he got, pulled aside by someone wearing some stained gear. A stained fanboy saying, "Hey, if you wanna cross through here, you need some protection. I can protect you. You know, with heroes being out of, the loop, and Shigaraki being the new, hero, so to speak. People need protection around these parts. How about I give you some? I got a sword, I'm pretty strong." Suku says, No, thank you. I can walk on my own." "Hey man, you need protection. If not from other people and villains, at least from me. Cough up all you got, hobo." "Listen, I don't have any money. I just came out of my own grave. Please man, cut me some slack." "What the hell are you talking about, man?" "Whatever, I'll just get it off of you." The man proceeded to use his quirk and, beat the shit out of Deku. Izuku was left on the ground coughing. As he was on the ground, the man started, rummaging through his belongings. "Man, this guy is so flat broke." The man was so frustrated that he kicked Deku again. "Next time, carry some money in your pockets, hobo." Izuku, after the struggle, got up and, kept on walking home. And he kept on seeing people getting pressed by these guys. And, he wasn't a fan of it. And so, he wanted to go home, but he started investigating. I mean, he had no quirk, but at least he could do something. And that's when his mind went again. You're trying to be a hero again. We all know where that got you. Izuku did not want to believe it, but he was no longer the inheritor of One for All. He no longer had his chakra, his ability to do amazing jutsu. But Izuku couldn't let this go, and so he went behind a gang member. Was called the Stained Gang, apparently. They went around hunting fake heroes and offering, quote-unquote, protection from people. They started off as a gang that followed the ideals of Stain. But, of course, with people like them, things always begin to become corrupted. And so they started taking bribes, they started taking money, and now they give around protection with a fee, of course. This exact same gang was responsible for the killing of false heroes in their eyes, like Mount Lady, a bunch of different heroes, including Press and Mike and others, or whatever hero stood in their way. But Izuku had lost track of the member he was tracking, and, well, he needed somewhere to sleep and he was nowhere near his house. He got so sidetracked that, well, he lost the path to his home. And, well, since there's nowhere for him to sleep, he decided to sleep on a bench. And that's when it happened. As he was sleeping, a man came up to him, a, well, cop. Not many of those around these times, but he went to, well, poke him with a baton. Izuku was having nightmares of fire, and he was, well, jittery and jumping in his sleep. He was also sleep talking and speaking in a way like he was seeing great tragedies, seeing the pain of innocent people, almost as if he could be in their place. Oh, and by the way, guys, this is the spirit of vengeance actually showing Izuku great tragedies and stuff that happens without the Ghost Rider or the spirit of vengeance being in the world. He's showing him all of the tragedies that have occurred since the spirit of vengeance have been sealed in hell. He was like, no, please, no, the screams, too many screams, so many dead. Why do they have to die? Why do they have to die? They're innocent, don't touch them. The cop was very disturbed. What is this guy on about? And, well, he keeps on poking him and he says, "Hey, sir, you're not allowed to sleep on these benches." "Sir? Excuse me, sir, wake up." Well, Izuku did, and the officer heard a creepy laugh coming from Izuku. But it was distorted. It didn't seem like it came from a man. It seemed like it came from something evil. And so Izuku stood up in a really weird fashion, almost without bending his limbs or moving. He just stood upright, and his eyes were hollow. No, there was a light in there. It was fire. And Izuku started laughing harder. Izuku started, well, burning. Fire engulfed his skull and his whole body. He started laughing again, but it's sounding like he was in pain. And then little bits of Izuku came out, like shouting and pleading for help. The officer immediately tried to call for backup, and, well, Izuku collapsed and kept on, well, screaming in agony. And that's when the officer went back to his motorcycle to get a fire extinguisher. But when he turned around, someone was standing in front of him, and they said, "Nice motorcycle. Can I borrow it?" The officer said, "What? It's you. I thought you were dying." "Motorcycle, out of the way." "I can't give you my motorcycle. I don't know if you're under the influence, sir, but you need to turn your quirk off right now." "Out of my way." Izuku proceeded to launch the officer far to the side, but he didn't kill him. The guy was, of course, innocent and an officer of the law. So, the Ghost Rider now got on top of the motorcycle and screamed. Fire spewed out of his mouth and it began to transform the entirety of the motorcycle. It turned into, well, a hot rod, literally. The officer took his walkie-talkie and said, "Call backup." Well, they stole his operative vehicle and he was calling for backup for a man. Put a bulletin on, well, for a man covered in fire. Izuku was, well, right now on the motorcycle going at, well, Mach 10, like super fast, down a highway. And he was looking for something. or for someone. He just heard screams and agony all around him. And bingo, a tragedy was about to happen. A man, well, crazed man, was about to carve into a family. He was sitting down with a family that was tied up and was mocking them and saying grace with dinner. In the middle of the table was the youngest member of the family, still tied up and still crying. Today we say grace for the bountiful blessings on our family. Right, family? The family was just crying and trying to scream for help. The mother was crying even more. Her baby was in the middle of the table, getting ready to get served by this maniac. And so the maniac started to grab and sharpen knives. Here we go. Who wants to have the first slice? I never eat first. I always like to eat last. I want my family to have the best. How about you, Mom? You work so hard. How about you have the first slice? The maniac was about to slice into the boy, but that's when an explosion occurred. Pieces of the wall flew everywhere, and there was a motorcycle with a man on fire. His skull was visible. The flaming skeleton pointed at all of the family, and their bindings burned off. He said, "All of you, out of my sight. You," he said while pointing at the maniac, "look into my eyes." The maniac started to burn and dropped the knife. He started, burning up. His eyes were, smoldering with fire. He covered and clawed at his eyes and started repeating the words of his victims right before he killed them. Like, please, 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 don't kill my baby. Or, please, please, it wasn't my fault. I'm sorry. I won't eat them. No, 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 please. I'll call the cops. No, 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 no. The man was totally burned from the inside, and he dropped dead. Izuku looked at the corpse and said, "Penance has been delivered." The writer turns around to leave, but that's when the father of the family walks over to him and says, "Thank you, whoever you are. Thank you for saving my family. Can I please tell you?" And that's when the ghostwriter turns around sharply, looking at the man and getting closer. The man was scared. What was this man going to do to him now? And he gets really close to him, like face to face. The man could feel the heat of the flames. The ghostwriter was looking him up and down, like side to side, almost like smelling him, smelling his past deeds and his sin. And then he looks at him directly in the eyes. The man could feel that they were looking eye to eye. And the ghostwriter opens his mouth and he says, "Innocent." The ghostwriter at this time turns around, gets back on his bike and races off. There is more guilty to punish. The writer goes on a rampage, killing or, punishing many, many guilty people. That includes many villains. The ghostwriter caught a whiff of evil so sickening that it would make a mortal man just keel over and die or want to die. He felt the presence of an insidious demon, and so the writer whispered, "Demon worshippers." In the woods, an effigy was being burned with a man, and a bunch of hooded figures were chanting in weird tongues and ancient languages, calling upon ancient magic that would not and could not work. They had already sacrificed many people, in animals just to get a sliver of power. Again, this world has been sealed off from magic. But despite that, their efforts weren't in vain. There was something calling to them. Their leader was possessed by a greater demon, which caused him to become horribly deformed.
I live again, and as my first decree, I want the flesh of children. Go now, subjects, and I will reward you with endless riches and power beyond your greatest dreams.
But before they could get to committing atrocities, they heard the roar of a great engine. It kept getting closer, and they saw lights. No, a fire? Who would put up a fire all the way over here? And that's when they noticed the light and the noise of the engine was getting closer and closer. And that's when the cult leader turned demon now felt something. Oh no.
Oh no, it's him. Why is he here right now when I barely got my body? No! All of you stop him and I will grant you immortality.
The cultists armed themselves with AKs, sawed-off shotguns, weapons, melees, and, well, anything they could find, getting ready for whatever was coming. And, well, it came, and it was just a motorcycle driving in itself. Well, it was on fire, but it was on its own. And that's when they started talking to themselves. What was that? There's nothing there. And that's when one of them gets their heart punched through their bags, and they all looked at him, and he was being held up in the air by a skeleton on fire. That's when the writer says,
All of you who spilled the blood of the innocent, all of you are guilty.
And so all of the cultists, after he shouted that, started shooting at the Ghost Rider. And the demon leader kept on shouting,
Shoot him, destroy him, and I will reward you greatly. Don't let him touch me.
And so the cultists started charging at him and shooting him, and they started hacking at him with axes and machetes. And, well, they started breaking towards him through his clothes, and, well, some of them even managed to break a little bit of his bones, but they immediately regenerated. And so the Ghost Rider turned to one of the cultists, cut his arm off with just his flaming hand, and removed a machete out of his hand and started swinging. The machete was now red hot with hellfire, and he started attacking them with it. And as they came towards him with their weapons, he just started swapping weapons out and turning them into, well, hellfire weapons. So much so that he got to one of them wielding a gun, and so he took it out of their hands, a sawed-off shotgun. And as he grabbed it, it got transformed, and he started shooting out, well, explosive rounds that turned anything they touched into ash. And so the demon cultist started saying towards the demon,
Please, Master, give us power.
And so the demon said,
You have served your purpose, and you have served it well.
And at that moment, all of the cultists, they started turning to worms. They were crying in agony as they were being transformed, and they all got absorbed by the demon, and he turned into a grotesque mound of flesh, hands and worms and bugs and, I don't know, sinew. Disgusting.
And he said, Well, look where the little angel of justice ended up. Oh, how the great had fallen. What, are you not gonna say anything? spirit of vengeance, I have one word to say.
And that's when the Ghost Rider points at him and says,
Penance!
At this, the wave of fire erupted from the rider, which stripped this demon out of all of his flesh, sinew, and everything, and made him look like a feeble demon, a small, insignificant one. The demon cowered in fear and started exclaiming, "You should not be here. You were trapped. You were trapped. You were trapped by my master Mephisto. You weren't supposed to be here. The world was our. Now that the magic users have gone extinct, the world was our playground, and now you are here. No! Someone will come. They will deliver you again to hell. We will destroy you one day. Spirit of vengeance."
Until that day comes, let them know I ride again.
As he shouts this, he delivers a massive amount of fire towards this small, feeble, insignificant demon and burns it to ash. And the rider turns around and leaves the scene. Not without taking that sawed-off shotgun. That would be very useful. And so he rides towards a park and lays on a bench and de-transforms. Izuku wakes up confused and, well, wanting to vomit, not knowing why. And he checks what park he's in and he remembers, this isn't the park I slept in. And he goes to the nearest, map. And he, finds out that he's approximately 5 miles away from where he was. And he just face palms. And as he's face palming, he remembers, or just a flash of him committing atrocities, killing someone with fire. And he thinks, that's just me remembering a nightmare. I gotta get back to what I was doing. I gotta bust that gang. At least let heroes know, whatever heroes are left. And that will be it for today, guys. I hope you liked the story. And by the way, disclaimers with the Celestials, I'm just taking the ending of your story. Honestly, it was pretty good. I just didn't like the messaging and the ending. So that's why I made this story. Please don't come after me with the Celestials. I love your what ifs. Well, I digress. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!